if given those two options, a fair amount, I'm willing to say 75% of people are going to go, Shedeur gives me more hope than Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, that's because you did get extreme value with Shedeur in the 5th round, and people, although some like to rewrite the narratives that he was always going to end up being some sort of, plummeting draft pick or something like that, most people that are honest about the conversation, 1st or 2nd round, and if that's what you accept him as far as his talent is concerned, then you should have excitement for Shedeur Sanders. That is way more exciting than the other option.
Picture this, a 5th-round draft pick that 75% of fans believe gives them more hope than a proven NFL veteran. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders, the kid who was projected as a 1st or 2nd-round talent, but somehow fell to Cleveland in the 5th. While experts are calling it extreme value, there's a darker story brewing behind the scenes. Whispers suggest the Browns front office might be setting up their own coaching staff for failure, and Shadur, he's caught right in the middle of what could be the most controversial quarterback decision in Cleveland's recent history. The question isn't whether he can play, it's whether they'll even let him. Look, I've been covering this league long enough to smell the BS when teams start selling hope in June and July. Remember last year when the Raiders were pushing Gardner, Minshew, and Aiden O'Connell like they were the second coming? Yeah, that worked out real well, didn't it? But here's what's different about Cleveland. This isn't manufactured hype. This is genuine, raw emotion from a fan base that's been burned so many times they should be certified firefighters by now. And the numbers don't lie. When you run a poll asking Browns fans who gives them more hope between Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, and 55% choose the rookie who hasn't taken a single NFL snap, that's not just optimism. That's desperation mixed with genuine belief that they might have struck gold in the 5th round. Let me break down exactly why Cleveland is losing their collective minds over this kid, and why the front office might be playing a much more dangerous game than anyone realizes. First, let's talk about the value. Trevor Sims from PFF put it perfectly, getting Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round when most honest evaluators had him pegged as a 1st or 2nd round talent. That's not just good drafting, that's highway robbery. And before you tell me he was always going to fall, stop right there. People love to rewrite history, but the truth is most draft experts who weren't trying to be contrarian had this kid going way higher. But here's where it gets interesting and a little concerning. The Browns didn't just get a steal, they got a player who immediately creates internal pressure. Think about it. You've got Dillon Gabriel, a 3rd-round pick who's supposed to be your developmental quarterback, and then boom, Shedeur Sanders falls to you in the 5th. Suddenly, Dillon's not the future anymore. He's just another guy. One insider told me straight up. The toughest thing the organization could have done for Dillon in terms of getting over with fans is drafting Shadur. And that's brutal, but it's also completely accurate. If Shadur didn't exist, Browns fans would have to be riding the Dillon Gabriel excitement train. But who wants to ride that ride when there's a potential Ferrari sitting right next to you?
Is that even if Joe gives you hope and excitement for this year and you win a couple games, that's it. It's over. The curtains. The movie's done at the end of this season.
It is, but the problem with Shedeur is he could give you hope until he just absolutely stinks. Right?
Well, it's on the table.
And I don't know what's going to happen with Shedeur because they're pushing a couple narratives about the kid that I think are meant to, I don't know, keep him in check or incubate him.
I mean, I guess all these quarterbacks we're talking about, though, it's on the table that there's hope until they stink, though. There's no guarantee.
No, that's absolutely fair. But I think if we go to, all right, who can give you hope and might give you the best chance to fulfill it?
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Joe Flacco. Here's a 39-year-old quarterback who came in last year and reminded everyone what competent quarterback play looks like in Cleveland. The guy was literally lightning in a bottle, the perfect player at the perfect moment, injecting hope into a locker room when it needed it most. But here's the reality check nobody wants to hear, that magic isn't coming back. Not the same way, not in 2024. Lightning doesn't strike twice, especially when defenses have tape on you and you're running a similar offense to what you ran in Indianapolis. The league figured out that Indianapolis offense pretty quickly, and they'll figure out Cleveland's version even faster. Yet fans still believe. Why? Because Joe represents something more than just wins and losses. He represents watchable football. After years of quarterbacks who made your eyes bleed, Joe Flacco makes the offense actually entertaining. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but he's going to make Sunday afternoons fun again. And honestly, for a lot of Browns fans, that might be enough. But here's where the Shadur factor comes into play. Joe Flacco gives you hope for this season. Maybe you win a few extra games. Maybe you sneak into the playoffs. But then what? The movie ends. The curtain falls. You're back to square one looking for a long-term answer. Shedeur Sanders? He gives you hope for the next decade. The contrast in fan reaction tells you everything you need to know about where Cleveland's head is at. When you ask Browns fans who gives them more hope, it's not even close when you break it down properly. 75% go with Shadur when you give them the choice between him and the other young quarterbacks. That's not a mild preference. That's a landslide. And you want to know why? Because Browns fans are tired of being lied to. They're tired of being sold false hope on quarterbacks who everyone knows aren't the answer. Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel. These aren't franchise quarterbacks, and the fans know it. Shadur represents something different. He represents genuine possibility. But here's where this story takes a dark turn, and it's something nobody's talking about openly, but everyone's thinking privately. There are whispers, and I mean whispers from people who know, that some folks in the organization feel like they were brought back just to be slaughtered at a different day. Think about it. Kevin Stefanski's job is on the line this season. Everyone knows it. Andrew Berry's probably not far behind. So what do you do when you're a front office that might be planning for a coaching change? You give that coach a bunch of quarterbacks and let him figure it out. If he succeeds, great. If he fails, well, you were planning to move on anyway. That's the cynical read. And honestly, it might be the accurate one. But here's what makes this even more complicated. Kevin Stefanski was part of choosing all 4 quarterbacks currently on this roster. That's different from previous years when he was stuck with Baker Mayfield or dealing with the Deshaun Watson situation. These are his guys: Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. They all fit his system in one way or another. So if this season goes sideways, nobody can say Kevin didn't get his players. Nobody can say he was set up to fail with quarterbacks that didn't fit his scheme. This is his quarterback room, his choices, his system. The pressure is entirely on him to make it work, and that pressure? It's exactly why Shedeur Sanders becomes so fascinating. See, if you're Kevin Stefanski and your job is on the line, you've got 2 paths. You can go with the safe veteran in Joe Flacco, hope he recaptures some of that 2023 magic, and probably buy yourself another year if things go reasonably well. Or you can swing for the fences with Shedeur Sanders, knowing that if he hits, you look like a genius, and if he doesn't, well, you were probably getting fired anyway. The smart money says Kevin starts the season with Joe and transitions to Shadur. At some point, that gives you the best of both worlds: veteran stability early, then a chance to evaluate your potential franchise quarterback in real game situations. It's the approach that makes the most sense from both a competitive and developmental standpoint. But what if Kevin panics? What if 6 weeks into the season, things aren't going well with Joe, and instead of turning to Shadur, he goes to Dylan, Gabriel, or Kenny Pickett? That's when you know the politics have taken over, and that's when Browns fans should really start to worry. Because here's the thing about hope in Cleveland: it's a finite resource. You can only sell fans false hope so many times before they stop buying. The Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell comparison isn't just about bad quarterbacks. It's about organizations that know they're selling a lie but do it anyway. The Browns are at a crossroads. They can either embrace the genuine excitement around Shedeur Sanders and give him a real opportunity to develop into their franchise quarterback, or they can fall back into the same old patterns of trying to manufacture hope where none exists. The fans have already made their choice. 55% choose Shadur over Joe Flacco in terms of hope and optimism. 75% choose him over the other young quarterbacks. These aren't close margins. These are statement votes from a fan base that's desperate for something real. And you know what? They might be onto something. When you look at Shedur's college tape, when you consider the value of getting a potential first-round talent in the 5th round, when you factor in the long-term upside versus the short-term uncertainty, maybe Browns fans are seeing something the experts are missing. Or maybe they're just so desperate for hope that they're willing to believe in anyone who represents something different from the same old Cleveland quarterback carousel. Either way, the pressure is building. Every practice report, every preseason snap, every quote from Kevin Stefanski about the quarterback competition, it all gets filtered through this lens of whether the Browns are going to do right by their potential franchise quarterback or whether they're going to find another way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The clock is ticking. Training camp is here. Preseason games are coming. And somewhere in Berea, Ohio, a fifth-round rookie quarterback is preparing for what might be the most scrutinized quarterback competition in Browns history, because this isn't just about 2024. This isn't just about whether Joe Flacco can recapture lightning in a bottle or whether Kevin Stefanski can save his job. This is about whether the Cleveland Browns can finally, after decades of quarterback mediocrity, identify and develop a franchise quarterback the fans think they already have. The question is whether the organization is smart enough to listen. Will the Browns actually give Shedeur Sanders the opportunity he deserves? Or are we watching another case of Cleveland snatching defeat from the jaws of victory? And if Kevin Stefanski's job really is on the line, does that make him more likely to take risks with his quarterback choices? Or will he play it safe and potentially waste another generational talent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Joe Flacco for the veteran experience? Or are you ready to see what Shedeur Sanders can do with a real opportunity? And don't forget to subscribe, because this quarterback situation in Cleveland is just getting started, and you know there's going to be drama every step of the way.